7:07 your time, and we're back, and as promised, State Senator Mike Bell is here. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Dan.
Good to have you on the show.
Well, thank you. I enjoy being here. Glad I remembered it this time. I think one time last year we had it scheduled for me to come, and I forgot.
Yeah,
in fact, I got a very I wouldn't say nasty, but I got an email from Kim.
Yeah.
Saying you forgot about us, Mike.
Yeah, Kim Palo, our producer, and she schedules the guests, and I don't know who my co-host was, but we did a lot of tap dancing that day, trying to fill the time, but it worked out. It worked out.
Good. I'm sure it did. You're great, Dan. You can fill 30 minutes. I'm sure.
That's tough. That's tough to do. But we're glad that Mike is here, and a good friend, and always good to see you. And of course, you got up early, so we appreciate you doing that too.
You're welcome. In fact, I've got a short story to tell about that. I told my wife last night before we went to bed. I said set the alarm for 5:45, so I could be sure and get up and get ready and get here this morning. And this morning, I heard the alarm. At least I thought I heard the alarm go off. I get up, I take a shower, get ready to go, get everything packed because I'm leaving from here to go to Nashville for a couple of days. And I pick up my cell phone and look at it, and it is 4:52.
Sweet revenge.
I turned to my wife, who's still laying in bed, and I said, "It's 4:52. I thought I asked you to set the alarm for 5:45." And she said, "The alarm never went off," and I guess I was dreaming it. And so I had a lot of time to kill this morning.
Oh, well, you had time for coffee then. That's great. Well, you got here on time.
I did.
We appreciate that. Mike, of course, represents District 9, which includes Polk, Meigs, Bradley, and McMinn.
That's right.
I knew it was 4 counties, but State Senate District 9. And he's also on the Judiciary Committee, the Energy and Environmental Committee, and the Government Operations Committee, which sounds pretty important to me. Government operations mean you kind of oversee what's going on in government, right?
Right. The committee has oversight over every state department, board, and commission. I believe there's about 280 of them. And this committee, all 280 of these department boards and commissions are on a regular schedule to be reviewed and audited to make sure they're doing what they were created to doing. And you know, anything from a large department like the Department of Education or the Department of Safety, which would include our state troopers and our driver's license centers, which I know there's always complaints about the waiting time at driver's license centers, to a small board that might oversee 40 professionals of a certain profession in the state of Tennessee. So it's a committee where you learn more about the minutia of government than any other committee in Nashville.
So it's a committee that has to meet year-round,
unlike
others.
Unlike others, there is a rulemaking process if a department, like the Department of Safety, wants to change the rules that govern how driver's licenses are issued. They go through a process, and part of that process is being approved by this committee. And so we meet year-round. We meet 12 months out of the year to not only review different agencies that are being that have to be sunsetted or extended, but we also approve rules. Like Tuesday, I will be meeting with a judiciary subcommittee of government operations, reviewing some judiciary boards, and then Wednesday I have another meeting the judiciary meeting will extend into Wednesday morning, and then Wednesday afternoon we will be going over a whole set of rules that could be, I would have to look at them, and I know we've got some from Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, we've got some from the health boards, and just different boards that have promulgated rules that have to be approved.
Well, you're a busy man.
That's a busy committee.
I was going to say, this is supposed to be a part-time job.
It is.
We have what we call a citizen legislature.
Absolutely.
That's what I meant by that. But you stay busy.
Right. And not only that, but Representative Brooks, Representative Watson, there's always functions back home. I know last week, being Veterans Day on Friday, and we were all over the district going to different events, and
I'm sure you are.
It's important to get out and let people know that you're there to hear them, you support what they're doing as well.
Yeah. You mentioned the Driver's License Bureau, and they have come into play recently with the new voter ID bill, I think, that was passed by the past session of the legislature. getting some criticism from opponents.
Right.
And if you dig real deep, you find out there's an agenda there, the reason they don't like it. But
in fact, Dan, I can tell you that several of the high-profile cases in the state of Tennessee that have been held up as examples of people who couldn't get a license, when they showed up, they had cameras, they had people with them. It was a setup when they showed up.
Right, yeah.
It was a setup when they showed up.
Yeah.
They want to create a problem when, you know, is voter fraud a huge widespread problem in Tennessee? I don't believe so, but if one person votes fraudulently, we've got a problem.
We got a problem.
And that's what we were trying to correct with this.
And we do know for a fact that there are dead people who vote in this district.
Right, it's happened here. We know what happened in the 2008 special election in Memphis. We know there were 18 cases in Davidson County where not only dead people but felons, and two, if I remember correctly, 2 illegals who had voted at that time. And so,
I think the voter ID bill is a good bill. I'm speaking personally now, not editorializing for the station, but I think it was a great thing, and I know there is some pressure to revisit that and maybe even to repeal it coming up in the next session. How do you see that coming out?
I don't see it getting the support it needs to pass. There will be a bill introduced. In fact, there may already be one introduced to repeal it, but I don't see us repealing that law.
What, basically give us a synopsis of why this law came into being.
Again, it was from these not widespread but sporadic accounts of voter fraud that we were having throughout the state. And I didn't know this, but Tennessee is the only state in the nation that has this this provision where if you're over 60, you don't have to put your photo on your driver's license. In fact, we may revisit that just to require everybody to have a photo, because if we had a photo, if the largest segment of people who are having a little trouble complying with the new voter ID law are elderly people who don't have their photo on their driver's license, and we may revisit that and do like the other 49 states and say, let's just put photos on everybody's driver's license, because you got to show a photo to ID to get on a plane, to buy alcohol, to do just about anything here in our society now.
Yeah,
and
even get a library card.
Even get a library card. That's right. And so I don't see that it's an undue burden.
Yeah.
even though the opponents want to call it a poll tax of things. I know.
You know, something as important as deciding who's going to run our community or our state or our nation, you should be able to prove that you are a qualified voter. That just, to me, that's common sense. But someone said common sense is not real common anymore.
Right. And you know, we've changed so much as a society. We're so much more mobile. You know, 50 years ago, again, when a lot of these, especially the elderly people, when they were younger, you went to a voting place, you didn't show ID. Everybody knew everybody at the voting place.
Yeah, but it's different.
It was a lot different then.
Yeah.
And again, we have such a mobile society. How many people? Bradley County's grown by 15,000 people in the last 10 years. Maybe a little bit more than that. 15,000 brand new people who are here in the community.
Mobile society, and the fabric of the society has changed drastically as we really are a melting pot. And so I think it just makes sense that you identify who you are and go ahead and vote.
Right, absolutely.
It just makes sense. But you don't think that'll be revisited?
No, I think there will be an attempt to revisit it, but I don't think it will be successful.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm just talking a lot here, Cheryl.
No,
you got a question?
I'm learning a lot. This is the first time I've actually had the pleasure of meeting Senator Bell. So I know I've been on before. I was a guest.
Yeah.
I wasn't a co-host, and you were coming on as I was coming off. So no, I'm enjoying this.
Another big issue in the past session was education reform.
Right.
Now, what, if any, parts of that reform might be revisited in the next session?
Well, the teacher evaluation, which I know is causing a lot of consternation for our local teachers and educators, we are going to look at, and I'm going to use the word tweaking that some. It was tweaked a couple of weeks ago by the Department of Education, where they combined 2 of the 6 evaluations that allow principals to do 2 at one time.
Okay.
So that's going to help them with their time management of this system. There's a couple of aspects we're going to look at. I know last week I had a couple of representatives from the Department of Education come to Bradley County, and we met with teachers and the principal at Prospect. We met with administrators from all over the county at Walker Valley, and then we met with teachers and administrators at Cleveland Middle School, just to hear their concerns with the evaluation system. And one common idea that I think was expressed at all three meetings was once a teacher meets a certain level of proficiency, there's a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the best, 1 being a teacher needs more work. But once they meet a 4 or a 5 on their evaluations, then that teacher, their number of evaluations could be cut back some. You know, this all came from the Race to the Top funds that we got 2 years ago, $500 million in federal grants to help improve education in Tennessee. Well, part of the conditions on us getting those funds was an agreement to revamp our evaluation system. Before, teachers were only being evaluated twice every 10 years, and that evaluation could come 2 times in the first year or 2 times in the 9th year. It didn't matter. A teacher could go 8 years or 9 years without being evaluated at all.
Wow.
And that we needed to improve on that. Now this new evaluation system requires 6 evaluations in 1 year for a teacher. It's a lot of work for the principals, especially the principals that have large schools. But and I'll tell you this, the teachers probably wouldn't want me to call their names. The principals probably wouldn't want me to call their names, but I spoke to 4 principals in 2 different counties who have told me this new evaluation system's kicking my backside. I'm working harder than I've ever been, but I'm a better principal, and my teachers are going to be better teachers because of it.
So it has accomplished what it's intended to do.
At least it started that.
But it may need to be tweaked.
It may need to be changed some, and I think you're going to see the legislature address that. You know, myself and Representative Brooks and Representative Watson, we're getting a lot of emails from teachers who are upset about this, and excuse me, and some administrators as well. But this evaluation system was adopted by a committee. We created the committee. We enabled the committee to come up with a new system. This evaluation system was adopted by this committee, which was made up of 12 people. I believe 7 educators, 5 business people, 5 of the 7 educators teachers. There were 5 public school teachers that signed off on this. You know, I'm getting a lot of emails from teachers saying, "Why did you do this to me?" So, well, do you know it was 5 of your fellow educators who adopted this and were the ones who came up with this system.
Recommended it. Okay.
Yeah, and all we did was basically give it a stamp of approval. We did approve it after they came up with it. But it was educators who came up with this.
Just to add to what Senator Bell is saying, you know, my company partners with a local school, and this will be our 5th year, and we're very proud of our partnership. And I'll just tell you, it's Prospect, and we have been Partners of the Year 4 years in a row. But I can tell you that because of the evaluation system this year, it has hampered and tied our hands on our ability to go into the schools, because the principal's time is consumed with these evaluations. So I would have to say that in the 5 years that we've been partners, this year we've had the least interaction because the teachers and the principal are just, like I said, consumed with these evaluations.
Well, and again, that's what we're going to look at, some ways to manage the time a little bit better. But Dan, I could say this: if you look at the studies, what is the key to successful school outside of parental involvement, which
it's huge,
which is the biggest factor. And my wife went to Prospect when she was in grammar school. In fact, there was one of the teachers out there who's still there who taught my wife, told me that when she had a parent-teacher conference night, out of 22 students, she had 2 parents show up, and those were the 2 parents whose kids didn't need any help. Right. You know, who's
and that's probably why they didn't need any help.
And that's probably why they didn't need any help. But the I drew a blank. Can't remember. I'm having a Rick Perry moment now.
I'll get you on Letterman next.
It happens to the best of us.
I was going somewhere with this.
I think there's some positive coming out of this evaluation.
There is, and the key. That's where it was. The key to a successful school is the principal.
Yeah.
And the principal being able to spend time in the classes with the teachers. Now, I know we might need to do something to help manage some of the time, but I think for too long, maybe principals were seen as the grandfather of the school, you know, kind of wandering the hallways. And I don't mean that aimlessly, but telling students to get back in class.
Yeah.
But that principal being in that classroom, observing that teacher and observing what kind of job that teacher's doing, that's what's going to make the most effective school. Now, was a system created that might be causing too much of that? Maybe so. So that's something we're going to go back and tweak.
But you are going to go back and look at that.
Yes,
While we're on the subject of education, something that was in the news today, in fact, education vouchers. What's going on with that?
Well, and I know they're calling them vouchers, and I believe the proponent of the bill, Senator Brian Kelsey from Memphis, calls them opportunity scholarships. So it's a war of words.
Yeah.
But the bill that he's introduced would only affect the four major counties, the four largest systems: Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville, and Chattanooga. They create it would create a system where if a family, an at-risk family, which I believe is defined by a family that makes $42,000 or less, or have some other economic factors that affect that family, they could apply for an opportunity scholarship that would grant them up to half the per pupil cost to take that and spend that in a private school. Again, commonly known as vouchers, and it's been practiced over this nation in many different states and cities. And you know, I'm all for parental choice in education, and the idea that the money is government's. We need to get away from the money's not government's, the money's taxpayers, the people's. That's right. But the one concern I have with Senator Kelsey's proposal is it requires the private schools who take the money to give TCAP tests and there's other issues with it that I think start putting the fingers of government in private schools. And so I'm a little concerned with that. I'm not real sure where I'm going to be on this bill. Last year we passed one in the Senate that didn't pass the House that didn't have those strings attached to it, and I voted for it. This one has got some other issues with it, and I'm going to have to look at it more to decide where I'm going to come down that issue. But again, anything, we created a virtual school bill last year that allowed, I believe there's 4 or 5 districts in the state who set up a virtual school academy. Again, it just gives parents another choice in education. And
now, virtual school, you're talking about on the internet?
Yeah, online. Union County, Putnam County, Davidson County, and I don't remember who the 4th county is, have set up online academies where a Bradley County student can apply online and be a Union County student, but they do all of their education on the internet.
You never go to the classroom?
Never go to classroom.
That's amazing. Well, come to think of it, I jogged my memory here. I have, one of my granddaughters has a friend who is doing online academy, and she is a student at Walker Valley High School. And she lives here in Bradley County, but she doesn't go to class. She does her schooling online and will be a graduate of Walker Valley High. That's amazing. Boy, times have changed since you and I were in school.
Yeah, well, and online education, it probably will never get to the point where we can have grammar school kids doing education online because they need too much adult supervision. But I think it's where education is going. We're going to be able to deliver the product at a lower cost to the taxpayer, put less pressure to build more buildings.
Right.
You know, maybe, I know I was even talking to Harry Brooks, who was a former chair of the Education Committee in the House, and he envisioned, you know, maybe in a few years, it may be 15 years down the road, maybe 30 years down the road, our public school, high school students might only go to a classroom 2 or 3 days a week, and the other time be able to get that education product delivered to them at their home. Yeah,
that's incredible. How does vouchers, if at all, how does it tie in with charter schools?
It doesn't tie in with charter schools at all.
Okay.
You know, we did pass a pretty comprehensive charter school bill last year. Tennessee had one of the most restrictive charter school laws in the nation prior to last year. We opened it up to allow a little bit more freedom to people to create charter schools.
And how has that? How's that been? Have there been
Well,
more
we're into
schools?
the first year of it now. You've seen a few more applications for charter schools. They're still a public school. They still have to comply with most of the public school rules, but it allows them a little bit of freedom to create different environments for students.
And a charter school is really maybe I misunderstood this, but it's a private enterprise, right? Started by private individuals?
It can be, and it can be a public. I mean,
school.
but they still are a public school. That's still a public school student.
Still comes under the public school rules and all of that.
Right.
We've got about 2 minutes left. We're talking with State Senator Mike Bell, District 9, which includes Bradley County, about some very interesting issues, I think. And of course, we've got the new session coming up February?
January. We actually start the second Tuesday in January, and you know, it'll take a couple weeks to get going. The first issue, the biggest issue we're going to address is redistricting. Yeah, we are in the first year after a census, which our Constitution, federal and state, require us to reapportion the districts according to the population change and shifts over that 10 years. And it's going to be interesting because it's the first time since 1869 Republicans have been in control of drawing the districts.
Going to be some lawsuits here.
Well, there's going to be some. There were lawsuits in 1960, 70, 80, 90, not 2000.
Every
actually,
10 years.
Just 2000 is the only one that missed it. But there's going to be lawsuits. But redistricting is going to be a big issue. But if you take politics out of it, which this is a political process, but if you just took politics out of it, across the state, the Democrat districts have lost population for the most part. The Republican districts have gained population. City of Memphis, City of Nashville, rural West Tennessee, which have been traditionally Democrat districts, they have lost population. So if you had a fourth grader with a crayon drawing the districts, the Republicans probably still would pick up seats because of the population shifts. If you remove politics.
And of course, we know this area has grown considerably, as you mentioned, about 15,000 just in Bradley County. We're close to, well, I think the last one I checked the census, we're 1,500 people under 100,000 population right now.
That's correct.
So,
that's correct. Now, see, my Senate district is about 17,000 people underpopulated. Mine is going to change somewhat. Don't know how yet. Yeah. I think Representative Brooks and Representative Watson's districts are right close to where they should be, and so there's probably won't change. It may change a road or two. Yeah. But probably nothing beyond that.
Well, it's going to be an interesting session, and that starts in January, runs usually through April or May.
May.
Like that.
That's right.
So there'll be some issues to watch, and it'll be interesting to see how the new budget fleshes out. I wish we had more time. We could talk about the budget, but we'll get you back next time.
Sure.
Now that you know how that alarm clock works.
Absolutely. Oh, goodness.
We'll get you back. We're out of time. I've got a lot more questions for Mike Bell, but we're glad that you made it in today. State Senator Mike Bell, your representative in District 9, and we appreciate him coming in today. It's Monday. We're out of time, Cheryl.
All right. Have
we
a good one.
Go. Yeah.
I enjoy the concert.
Oh, I'm going to. Mannheim Steamroller tonight, Memorial Auditorium. See you there. 7:30. Have a great day.